Namandam, 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 namandam. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our November Shotsuki monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. I'd like to begin by reading the November Shotsuki names. Isaburo Adachi, Shikanosuke Ajari, Joe Akiyama, Tomoe Aoki Johnson, Fumie Endo, Nao Endo, Katsumi Fuji, Yuki Fuji, Nancy Louis Fujikawa, Shitoyo Fujinami, Reverend Masami Fujitani, Toshio Fukuda, Chieko Furuta, Larry Furuta, Sumie Hiramoto Gluck, Rihachi Goto, Katsu Harada, Miyako Hatakeyama, Tom Hayashida, Claude Melvin Hess, Judy Hirabayashi, Mitsuru Hirai, Mamoru Hirota, Masakichi Hirota, Kikuno Honda, Tokuzo Honda, Kotoshi Hori, Fusano Horimoto, Mae Hatsuko Hoshi, Masaru Ide, Leo Ryotaro Ikeda, Kimie Ikemoto, Kenji Kamada, Akira Kanagaki, Chio Kaneko, Haruto Kaneko, Miharu Kaneko, Ida Kanesaki, Hyosuke Kawahata, Harue Kihara, Gunichi Kimura, Seki Komoda, Kiyoshi Kuritsubo, Tora Saburo Masuda, Vernon Matsui, Kimiko Messenzel, Grace Misaki, Tori Misumi, Chikamatsu Mitsuda, Roger Miyazaki, Hanzo Miyazaki, Kikuo Mizuhara, Ichihei Mizusaki, George Mori, Jotaro Mori, Hitoshi Greg Morimoto, Setsuko Shirley Morimoto, Rei Yoshiro Morishita, Rokuzo Morishita, William Muranishi, Katsutaro Nagao, Tokie Najima, Mitsuko Nakagawa, Roy Nakagawa, Shotaro Nakamura, Saichi Nakao, Yutaka Nakao, Tomiko Nakatani, Hideko Nakazono, Akira Narasaki, Ruth Narasaki, Yoshio Negi, Yuriko Niizawa, Shizuko Nishio, Chiono Nomiyama, Fukuju Nomiyama, Masano Nomiyama, Matsuno Nomiyama, Mitsuru Nomiyama, Chiyomatsu Nomura, Fred Nomura, Irene Nomura, Masai Nomura, Genkichi Ogi, Kansuke Ogi, Mine Ogi, Shingo Ogihara, Jitsuo Ohara, Keisaburo Oka, Vicky Okamoto, Kiyoshi Okemoto, Yoshitaka Oniki, Katsujiro Onizuka, Raymond Otake, Kasue Saika, Harue Sakamoto, Hiroko Sakamoto, Sue Sakamoto, Masaji Sato, Yoshimatsu Seta, Baby Shibata, Harry Shibata, James Shimamura, Jean Siu, Kelly Kalai Siu, Shunyo Soda, Torataro Sumimoto, Kenji Suetsugu, Sumi Tajiri, Kazumi Takahashi, Fukutaro Takashima, Nakai Takashima, Shinobu Takeshima, Sumiko Takeshima, Kazuma Takata, Tuli Takeuchi, Hideo Tomori, Ben Tamura, Ichijiro Tanaka, Shizuo Tanaka, Ren Tanaka, Tameo Tanaka, Takeso Taniguchi, Tora Taniguchi, Masateru Tarada, Kasumi Toji, Mary Tonai, Genjuro Tsujimoto, Yoshikusu Tsujimoto, David Uemura, Konoe Utsurogi, Tom Utsurogi, Sho Wakabayashi, Sam Watahara, Goichiro Watanabe, Tokie Watanabe, Susan Wang, Akie Yamabe, Koito Yamamoto, Kaoru Yamamoto, Nancy Yamamoto, Yoshi Yamaoka, Tsuru Yamashita, Clara Yokoyama, Grandmother Yoshioka, Setsuko Yoshisato. Okay, next we'll have Sutra chanting. Today we will chant Sanbutsuge. It's on page 22 in the small book and page 79 in the large book. Give me a second here. Namandab, 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 namandab. Kogen gi gi Ijin mugok nyoze enmyo muyo tosha nichigatsumani shuko enyo kaishitsu onpei yunyaku jumok nyorai yogen chose munin shogaku daion koru jippo kaimon shojin sanmai chie itoku muryo shu Taizen Shobutsu Hokai Gujin Jin no Kugo Gaitai Mumyo Yokunu Sesonyomu Nino Shishi Jin Tokumuryo Kukun Kodai Chi E Jin Myo Komyo Isop Shindo Daisen Ganga Sabutsu Zai Shoho Kado Shojin Mifugedatsu Fusejoin Kainin Shojin Nyoze Sanmai Chie Ijo Gosei Tokubutsu Fugyo Shigan Isai Kuku Isadayan Keshi Ubutsu Yakusen no 億万無量大小春陽五者供養一切使徒諸仏不尿具道見性不脚非尿五者諸仏世界無不可計無種節道光明師匠変死諸国如是精進異人難女両が差仏国土第一五種奇妙道場超絶国如内音二無闘争ガト愛民道達一切実法来生心熱症状楽安穏古物神妙是が心象発願の日力少所欲実法世尊知恵無限上領子孫知が信行計量心死食読中画行精進忍術不敬ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブ願にしく読平等性祭道本も大心往生安楽 Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. What Gatha you want to do? Okay, we're going to do Gatha now. Ganjin's Journey. We haven't done this one in a long time, and it's in the blue binder. I think. Nope. It's not in the blue.
It's in the big book on page 196.
Sorry about
and,
that.
And let me play it through once so that you can remember the melody. So follow along while I play it through once.
196 in the big purple book. And I'm sorry, people online, I don't have the music for the screen. Go. Like the sun breaking through a gray and misty canopy, our voices break the silence, grateful to our past. He who traveled over oceans, planting seeds of truth, facing dangers overwhelming with no thought of self. We are joined by the Dharma in a circle without end. Foreign lands, does it matter? Foreign tongues may speak the same thought. Children all of one mother, now in need of care. As we gather, drawn together, know a life is one. Stand beneath the same cool moonlight, warm beneath one sun. We are joined by the Dharma in a circle without end. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. That was a hard one, huh? I heard that. Next, you thought that was hard. Next, let's recite Sankiemon, which is the three treasures in Japanese, on page 6 in the same book. Oops. Sankiemon. Ninjin ukegata shi ima suri ni yuku, buppo kikigata shi ima suri ni kiku, konomi konjo ni mukatte dose zumba, sarani izure no sho ni mukatte ka konomi o dosen, daishu mono tomo ni shishin ni sambo ni kieshi tatematsuru beshi. Mizu kara butsu ni kieshi tatematsuru, masani negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni, daido o taige shite mujoi o okosan. Mizu kara ho ni kieshi tatematsuru, masani negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni, fukaku kyozo ni irite chie umi no gotoku naran. 自からそうに消えし立て祭るまさに願わくは主情とともに大衆を通りして一切無限ならん無常人人未明の方は百千万号にも愛用ごとがたし我今検問し受持することを得たり願わくは如来の真実義を下し立て祭らん And then please join me in Gassho and repeat after me. I go to the Buddha for guidance.
I go to the Buddha for guidance.
I go to the Dharma for guidance.
Go to the Dharma for guidance.
I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Namo. Okay, thank you very much. That's kind of a relatively new, well, new and old tradition. Back when we did, before the pandemic, and we did Shotsuki Hoyo, it would be the kind of second service, and we would do the three treasures in Japanese. So I thought I'd bring it back, even though we haven't done it in English yet today, but if you come for a regular service, very often we do the English version, which is just translated from this. And also that idea of taking refuge in the Buddha, going to the Buddha for refuge, going to the Buddha for guidance, right, is a core Buddhist kind of idea. We're wandering around in samsara, and then we find a way. We're shown a path, right? And by taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, that's kind of what we're doing. Okay, I'd like to begin the Dharma talk for today's November Shotsuki monthly memorial service and adult Dharma service. In October Shotsuki, I've mentioned an interview with the amazing Japanese jazz and fusion pianist Hiromi. She has a last name, but she goes by Hiromi, kind of like Madonna or whatever. And so there's a guy named Rick Beato who's a guitar player, and some people find him annoying, but he's an amazing interviewer. And so I watched this. I usually don't watch the whole thing. I watched this interview the whole way through. I've watched it again and again. It's just really, really amazing, because she plays too during the interview. In October, I talked about freedom. She talked about freedom in music and freedom in jazz, and I kind of related it to freedom in Buddhism. But this month, the same interview, but a different section, and I wanted to talk a little bit about lineage and tradition. He's, talking to, Rick is interviewing Hiromi, and he's asking her about jazz music and how you don't even really have to understand musically what's going on in jazz to appreciate it and to like it. I think a lot of people listen to jazz without being musicians and appreciate the music. But she is really a master of her craft and talks about some of the people that influenced her. So a lot of the interview, there's times when she talks about Oscar Peterson, who's an amazing African-Canadian jazz pianist. She plays some of his stuff, and they talk about these different kind of lineages, right? And when you learn an instrument, I think a lot of times what happens is you start investigating, and you hear one thing, and you're like, where does that come from? I got to learn. I'm going to listen to who they listen to, who they learn from. Right? And so my friend Greg is this amazing drummer, and he's been writing me. We've actually lost some amazing musicians this past couple of weeks. Anthony Jackson is this bassist, six-string contrabassist, really. He's kind of the origin of the modern six-string bass. And he's a fusion and jazz musician for decades, since the 70s. You've heard him, if you know For the Love of Money by the OJs. Money, 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 money. That's Anthony Jackson. He also played with Al Di Meola, Michelle Petrucciani. And Hiromi. I got to see him at Yoshi's playing with Hiromi. He passed away a couple of weeks ago, actually soon after last month's Shotsuki. And he's got a big influence on me. And he had a stroke, and I think wasn't in that great health. But still, to hear that he passed just sent shockwaves through the bass community, I think, and the jazz community. And then a few days ago, we lost Jack DeJohnette, who is this astounding jazz drummer. and one of the top legendary jazz drummers. He passed away recently as well. And so, my friend Greg has learned from all these people, and he was telling me, he'd get an album and then be like, wow, so into it that he had to find other music like it, but also the people that influenced the people he's listening to, right? And kind of going back, digging in. It's almost like research, right? It's fun because it's music, right? And yet also a very serious kind of endeavor, right? To go back and find out where did this music come from? What's going on? I was fortunate to grow up in a relatively musical household. Both my parents loved music. They loved classical music, and my dad liked folk music. And my dad was born in 1929, so not rock. I didn't hear rock growing up that much, except at friends' houses. I heard more pop music of the day. Oh, my dad liked country too, so I remember growing up hearing Dolly Parton and listening to all different kinds of music. They turned me on to Holst and the Planets and Gershwin, American in Paris and Rhapsody in Blue and Beethoven and all this stuff. So I was very fortunate to grow up with music around me. And then they forced me to take piano lessons, and I didn't particularly enjoy that, and I certainly didn't practice very much, and yet it had deep impact on me later on in life. We moved to Japan when I was 11 years old, soon to be 12, in 1982, and lived in a hotel for a month. And the hotel, this is in Tokyo, and it had this like radio built into the bed set kind of thing, the bed stand, and some push buttons that you could choose radio stations, and it had FEN, which is Far East Network. And so it's the U.S. military radio station, right? So I started listening to pop music. I would listen to Casey Kasem Top 40, and got kind of fed the pop music of the day. But also I listened to Wolfman Jack. And it goes, how did that start? Let's go. I don't know if you know that song. Let's go. Let's go. It's like, so like 50s rock, right? And I realized later on, I got an education from listening to Wolfman Jack. Right? I think a lot of times Wolfman Jack, but we think of him and maybe we think of him as kind of a foolish kind of guy or something. But no, he was a DJ. Right? He was a radio DJ that introduced so many people to rock music, to blues, to African American music that people maybe normally didn't get to hear, but it's on the radio so you could hear it. The next band that I got into was the Beatles, and what better group? But the Beatles have rock and roll. They did all these Chuck Berry covers, and they did like country covers, and then they started writing their own music, right? And incredible melodic sense and songwriting sense. So really, like from the pop music to Wolfman Jack to the Beatles in 7th grade, and then also spring semester of my 7th grade year, we had a substitute teacher, Mr. Zielinski. I think I've talked about him before, and his class was rock music appreciation. So we listened to music in class. That was my music class. It was so cool. And I got to listen to all this amazing music. I remember the final exam, he would play the song and a little bit of it, and you had to write down the song and the artist. And the thing I remember was he'd play the classic Johnny Cash live at wherever, is it Folsom Prison or something? This classic live album. And the funny thing is, it starts out, he goes, "Hi, I'm Johnny Cash." You're like, yeah, we got the answer. He fed us the answer, because he didn't have to guess. You had to know the song, right? But so for me, that has informed kind of who I am as a person, I think. I went on to listen to heavy metal and prog rock and funk and fusion and jazz and New Orleans kind of funk and all different kinds of music, but rooted in that rock kind of upbringing, right? That's the music that kind of feeds me, right? I still listen to classical, I listen to jazz, but I like the sounds of rock music. That song, that's what really touches me. And over the years, I've dove in to learn more and more and more about the music that I love, and I'll get all the albums of that. Now with Spotify or streaming, you can it's weird. You can listen to anything you want, basically. It's almost like anything that's been recorded, you can just listen to for free. It didn't used to be like that, right? You used to have to go out and buy it. You either listened on the radio or you went out and you could get it from the library maybe, but in Tokyo I was lucky, all these amazing record stores. And this is records too, right? So I had records. I moved to CDs in the late 80s or whatever, but so just this kind of idea. And Hiromi's interesting too. She talks about it like a family tree. Family tree. It's this family tree of music, family tree of jazz, right? And that you can go and see all these branches and see who influenced who and who played with who, right? And it's just, when you dig into it like that, it's really exciting and interesting. And she talks about just these connections and says it's important to study and understand. And I think that's kind of cool. If you're a musician, it's important to study and understand, right? To really dig in and not take it for granted and really go. This idea of lineage, we can find it in Buddhism as well, of course. The song we sang, Ganjin's Journey, he was from India, right? It's this story of Japanese Buddhism, and Buddhism goes from India and spreads all over the place. Right? And it spreads north into what we now consider Pakistan, was like the Indian kind of cultural area. Pakistan, Nepal, Afghanistan, there's Buddhism there. It goes southeast, south, Sri Lanka, but also Indonesia and Cambodia, Thailand, all these places. And China, Central Asia, up into China, and Korea, Vietnam, even though they weren't necessarily nations like we know now, and Japan. So getting to Japan, I think, was hard, right? That wasn't an easy trip 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, right? It was not an easy trip to make, and yet they had a hunger, right? They really wanted more and more and more and to learn as much as they could. So some people in history go from Japan to China, whether it's earlier people or like later, like Dogen, or actually before him is Kukai and Saicho, right? These amazing figures. And if you go to Japan and you go to the temples, you've probably seen their pictures. You might hear their name, but it's a lot of information to take in, right? If you're on tour in Japan. But when you study it and you realize, wow, like they really wanted to get the most current Buddhism and learn as much as they could and get texts and get all kinds of stuff. So they would go to other places, but they also wanted the monastic lineage. I shouldn't point at myself because I'm not part of a monastic lineage. I'm part of a Shinran kind of rejects the monastic lineage. But for so many kinds of Buddhism, it's so important. And so this figure, Ganjin, comes from India, probably to China, and he gets to Japan. Right? And I'm not up on the story. We didn't decide on the Gatha until today, so I can't give you too much detail. But that's one example of this kind of interface back and forth. Right? And for Shinran, we have the seven masters, the Shichikoso. Shinran looks to India, Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, to China, it's Tanluan, Daocho, Shandao, and Japan too, Genshin, who is a Tendai monk like him, and then his teacher, Honen. Honen's really interesting. I mean, that was Shinran's teacher. He was face to face with him, learning from him, studying with him, part of his community. Our Shinshu is so much what it is because of that relationship, I think, between Honen and Shinran, and Eshinni. Right? A couple of weeks ago, we had Eshinni, Kakushinni, Lady Otani service, right? And Eshinni is Shinran's wife. Right? And so that's why I say, I'm not a monk. I'm not a celibate monk. Right? And neither Shinran was for like 20 years, but then he gets married. Right? He's a monk, but he gets married. And it's thought, one current newer idea is that she may have been part of Honen's community. Honen knew that part of Shinran's struggles were with sensuality and sexuality. So he's like, marry her. How about that? Right? And so they get married, and for years, they're together, decades, right? And they have children. It's because of them and Kakushinni, their daughter, that we have this temple, right? This going way back, 800 years, right? And that relationship, just so important. So with the music thing, I was kind of thinking, like Shinran, we can go back, right? Shinran's going to like 1st century CE, 2nd century CE with Nagarjuna, right? Like almost, 2,000 years we can kind of look back. For the music thing, we can't go back that far with jazz, right? Because I think so much of jazz is recorded music, right? And so we're talking like 100 years, maybe 125. Can we get, how much access do we have to music from 1900s? I mean, music would be written out too. You can have that kind of thing, but so much of jazz is improvised, right? Beyond what's written on the page. So like with jazz, I don't know how far back we can go. Classical, yeah, we have access to all this information about Bach or Beethoven or whoever, right? But jazz, I don't know how many generations we can go. So, how about Shotsuki, right? With the Shotsuki service and the names that I read today, I was just kind of thinking, there's another lineage, right? And so for those of you, this is a great gathering today, you know, different, as I'm reading the list, I'm like, oh, that's why they're here. Keep reading, oh, that's why they're here. Keep reading, oh, yeah, that's why they're here, you know, because I recognize the names and I know families that are able to gather here, right, in person for the Shotsuki service, right? So some of you are here for specific person or people, right? And to me, that's amazing. I don't know how often that happens just in general American culture, you know, but to be able to keep thinking about them together, and not just with one family, but with everybody, right? And so this idea of this kind of lineage, right? That we're here celebrating a lineage in a lot of ways. How many generations do we know of our family, right? I'm fortunate, I'm unfortunate in that I never met 2 of my 4 grandparents and never talked to any of them because I didn't understand Japanese for the ones I met, right? And yet I'm aware of them. I have a picture of one of their parents, right? But I can't go any further back. I don't know anything much more about my family on my Japanese side. My dad's side, I have a lineage actually. I have, what do you call that? And genealogy, right? Well, one of my great uncle did a genealogy, and so I've got it. It's typewritten on this like onion paper or whatever, but it kind of falls apart at a certain point. There's a guess. You know, that there's someone who's not listed, but they think he was part of this family. So if you accept that guess, my family goes back to the Mayflower. It's a guess though, right? So I don't know, right? So for all of us too, to think, how many generations back do we know of our families? I don't think we can go as far back as Shinran's looking, right? The Otani family looks back to Shinran. Right? He's the first one. So Otani family can look at they've got a whole list of them, the Gomonshu, right? But Shinran, before Shinran, we actually don't know, right? So that one ends at a certain point of our knowledge. So you know, maybe we can't go back that far in the lineage of our families, but to me, it's okay. You know, the fact that we're here honoring people in our family lineage, I think is really special and important. Right? And this really, really special opportunity to be able to be together with our family in order to do that. And then it makes me think, beyond just your family connections with this person, I read the whole list, right? Some of those people can't be here today. Maybe some of them don't have any descendants, right? And yet, I really, really like reading the names. I think I've mentioned this before, but sometimes someone will call and they'll say, can you please take this person off the list? Maybe, I think they're actually like a worker, and so they put them on the list, but they're like, you know, I just want to have them taken off the list. And I'm kind of like, aw, really? Okay, and you know, maybe I'll say, can we stop sending you the notice, but can I leave it on? And they're like, no, just take them off. And I'm like, aw, because I feel like nobody remembers them, right? And by now, there's a lot of people who had no family descendants, right? When I was in Lodi, there was a section of the cemetery that had unknown graves, and they were mostly workers, right? There were people who had come from Japan and were working over here and didn't have any family. Maybe they sent money back home to a family, but you know, maybe those people didn't, and they're just kind of on their own. And then nobody to keep thinking about them. But when we read the name, right? To me, I like that. Like once a year, this person's name is read. Right? Once a year, this person is remembered. Right? And so, in a way, they're our family. Right? And that's why I like the idea of the Dharma family. You know, that we used to call it the family service or family Dharma service. And I remember once somebody saying, I don't have any family here. Am I allowed to come to this service? Of course you can come. What do you mean? Oh, you come sometimes and you look, all these people are related. I'm not related to anybody. Can I be here? And the answer is yes, right? Because it's not about only the blood relations or marriage relations. It's also this Dharma family, right? This Dharma family where we're all connected, even without actual family connections or even social connections with anyone here. You're still part of this Dharma family. Right? And I think that's maybe the most important thing to me is, that when we take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha, when we say Namo Amida Butsu, which means I take refuge in Amida Buddha, right? That we're expressing these connections that go beyond just, or go beyond family and friendship and marriage. So thank you, Hiromi. Thank you, Rick Beato, for bringing this up in a musical sense, right? And that idea of these connections and lineage and family tree and music, and recognizing that our Shin Buddhism has deep roots in the past. Right? Sometimes I think people, you'll hear sometimes say Buddhism is about being in the moment, and so, yeah, sometimes. But I think our kind of Buddhism is also being aware of the past, right? Being aware of my roots, being aware of where I come from, being aware of how many things influence who I am in this moment, right? It's not just me, it's me because of all of you. You're all part of it. The names that I read, even people I've never met, part of who I am, right? Part of the Dharma family that I'm fortunate to be able to join in. So thank you very much. One last thing, we're going to sing Ondokusan II. We'll do that later. But there's a line in there. I can't do it if I do it from memory, I have to start at the beginning, and it's in the second verse, so I don't want to do that to you. Shishu chishiki no ondokumo. That chishiki, or zenjishiki is another way to put it, is like good friend. Kalyana mitra. There's a Sanskrit word for it too. And it's this idea in Buddhism of the good friend. Someone who is Buddhist and reaches out to someone who needs it and expresses the Dharma to them. Right? And so this chishiki or zenjishiki, right, is a really important part of our tradition too. And technically it may mean like the Gomonshu and the Monshu's family, the Otani family, but I think it can be kind of anyone that touches your life and connects you to this teaching of Jodo Shinshu. So let's conclude the Dharma message here, and please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandam, namandam, namandam. Okay, and let's have some announcements. So, Robert.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Nice to see everybody here today. A beautiful day outside. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you very much, Sensei. A couple of announcements. I guess the first thing is that some of you may see some equipment downstairs. We're going to have a training. The board is actually having a training session on how to use the defibrillator downstairs. And so Eric Ikeda, who's a fireman with the Belmont Fire Department, is here to provide some training for us. So if you'd like to stay and watch that or be part of that, that's fine. But it's basically for the board members and leaders of the church. But again, everyone is welcome to stay if you'd like. A few announcements. Next Sunday, the 9th, will be our regular Dharma family service at 10 a.m. Saturday, the 15th, will be a study class. Our Buddhism Basics and Beyond continues. And so Sensei will be doing a study class from 1 p.m. Sunday, the very next day, Sunday the 16th, will be a special service, probably our last special service of the year, a Taikyo and Dharma school, and we'll have an Otoki lunch done by the Host 10 group on that day. That'll be Sunday the 16th. Sunday the 23rd will be Dharma family service, and then the following weekend after that is Thanksgiving. Can you believe it's Thanksgiving already? My goodness. So that'll be on the 30th. There'll be no services that entire weekend, okay? And then, of course, that leads up to Sunday, the 14th of December, which will be Mochitsuki. So we look forward to having you come and give us a hand with that from 7 a.m., anytime after 7 a.m., most of the day. And of course, the OBWA will be having their boutique, holiday boutique as well, happening in the Issei Kaikon. One more thing I wanted to mention before I turn it over to Sensei is our 2026 board ballots will be in the mail probably tomorrow, but sometime this week. And we'd like, for those of you who are BCO members, we'd like you to return them back here to the office. You could bring them back or mail them back, either way, by Wednesday, November 26th to the office, so right before Thanksgiving. I just wanted to mention that many board members, that past and present, play an active role in the day-to-day activities of running the church. That includes the major events such as Bazaar, Obon, Mochitsuki, but also other types of events, meetings, otoki lunches, gatherings, celebrations, and community events, and making decisions for the good of the Buddhist Church of Oakland and the community. So please keep that in mind when you're casting your ballots. And if you're ever asked to be part of the board, we appreciate it if you would volunteer some time and help us. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of going on here. And we would really appreciate your help and support. And it's just when I do stuff here, it's my way of giving back to the church, giving back to the Buddhist Churches of America and the community thereof. So there's a lot that I do, and it's part of what I do to give back here to the church. So I really appreciate it. As chair of the nomination committee of this year, if you're asked to be part of the church board, whether it be this year or in coming years, we'd appreciate if you consider it. So, okay, with that, thank you very much. Sensei, you had an event announcement you wanted to make.
Yes. And Steve, you want to get ready? And then, so I got a couple of announcements. It's not on the website yet, but we'll get it up there. Is there something called Kyogen, which is related to No, the Japanese classical kind of plays. And the Kyogen are more like the comedic kind of comedy things that would be in between the No plays. So they're going to have that in English in San Francisco. This week, Thursday through Sunday. And so I've got a kind of flyer here, and if you're interested, you can either email me or look on the website. Maybe after tonight, we'll put that up if you're interested. You may have also noticed we did, today's service was smokeless, without lighting the incense. Some people have chemical sensitivities or health issues, and so every now and again we do a kind of smokeless service. And so I found these little pebble things, so today we can do the pebbles. We don't have, you can just offer the incense in the no-kotsudo if you go in, but just it won't be lit. Okay, and so with that, let's sing Ondokusan II, the song that I mentioned, which in a small book is on page 76 and page 220 in the big book. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, this will conclude our November Shotsuki Monthly Memorial and Adult Dharma Service. You can come up and offer pebbles if you haven't had a chance to yet already, and thank you very much.